Hey everybody, back again. Technical difficulties somewhat taken care of. My computer went ahead and dumped me off the live feed, and Michael is having a challenging time getting the link to work from him. But since you guys have carved out some time on your schedule for the Advancement Live program today, we're going to go ahead and keep chatting about alumni career services. And I think Michael, after some pure brute force and a little perseverance, will be able to join us again. Hope everyone's having a great day. Advancement Live, as I was saying before, is a weekly show for higher ed development, engagement, and communication professionals. We broadcast on the Higher Ed Live Network, which is a product of Ed Universe Media. Please do follow along with the hashtag Advancement Live. I do want to have a great shout out to our sponsors for the show. For those of you who haven't watched the program yet, iModule Software is the leading constituent engagement management provider for educational institutions. iModules delivers an integrated online platform that transforms how institutions strengthen constituent relationships and achieve fundraising success. All right. Back working through the technology. This week we're talking alumni career services, which is one of my favorite topics. It's a hugely powerful service that can have a profound impact on the lives of graduates. Sometimes I wonder whether or not there is such a thing as careers anymore. Do we have just a sequence of jobs, or do some people have careers? I wonder whether alumni career services is actually alumni connection services, and I know a lot of you probably do have that thought in your head as well as to how we're able to service alumni, given the changing landscape. How is Twitter and Google Hangouts like this one, when they're working correctly, impact the work that we do? And we're going to have the opportunity to chat through all of those concept with both Kim and hopefully Michael at some point. I see his both Baltimore Orioles cap there. I'm sure you guys can see it too. He's working to join us. Kim is the Assistant Director for Alumni Programs in Syracuse University's Career Services Office. Mm-hmm. She started her career as a TV news reporter before making the switch to higher education. Kim tweets extensively from @KimandCuse, and works with students on using social media responsibly. Michael, when he arrives, or even if he doesn't, is the Director of Alumni Career Services at the George Washington University. His professional experience includes work in higher education, arts administration, alumni relations, career services, opera, and nonprofit fundraising. In his current role, he leads and manages innovative alumni career services, resources, and professional development initiatives in collaboration with institution-wide and school-based career service networks efforts. And hopefully Michael can join us. So Kim, while we're getting started here, could you tell a little bit about where you sit underneath the umbrella of Syracuse University, how alumni career services is handled at your institution?
Sure, and I think Michael has joined us.
Michael, hooray, he's back. Awesome. Michael, we're live, and I just read your bio, so that's great timing.
I apologize. Hopefully this won't happen again, but I went wireless on us, so now because the LAN network is not working for some reason, so hopefully this will be stronger.
Wow,
so
who would think that the wireless would be stronger than the landline? Yikes.
Well, thanks for bearing with me, and I appreciate the patience, everyone.
Yeah. So I was just going to answer where I fall within the university, and we're kind of, I'm in student affairs, so I'm in our career services office, our central career services, which is right in the student center on campus, and basically I work really closely with the Office of Alumni Relations and several staff members within our Division of Advancement and External Affairs, and that's of course where Alumni Relations falls. But my boss, Mike Cahill, who leads career services, has felt for the past several years now that when you come to SU, you're part of a family, and when you leave the family continues to take care of you. So you haven't ever really left, and so he's felt that Alumni Career Services is something that we can and should offer free of charge to all of our alumni, and it's an offering right now that lies in student affairs. So we have career counselors who do resumes, cover letters, all those typical career consultant, career counseling type help. And then I liked how you said, Ryan, that we're kind of creators of connections, that it's more of connection services. Both myself and a great colleague of mine, Dan Clam, down in New York City, that's what we do. We create connections between our students and alumni, between alumni and fellow alumni, between our office and employers to hire our students, and that's really our role here at the university.
Fantastic, Kim. Thank you. And Michael, could you get us started with a little sort of backdrop on how Alumni Career Services is handled at George Washington?
Sure. Well, first, I'm honored to be here with Kim, who I really enjoy the privilege of both serving on a Alumni Career Services network board with her, and she's just a phenomenal leader in the field. At GW, I'm housed in the Office of Alumni Relations, which is part of the Division of Development and Alumni Relations here at GW. It's a staff position within the university. We do have a volunteer-led alumni association, and while I work with career services, I'm still housed in the Alumni Relations. I work closely with all the different Career Center colleagues across the university in the school-based Career Center and the more centralized Center for Career Services. And I'll go into depth later on in some ways that we at GW are partnering among our colleagues in how we bring together the community of career service professionals to touch on topics like alumni career services or student issues and ways that we can leverage the alumni to help in those areas. Just a little bit about what I do, in addition to what Kim was talking about, connecting, and really that really is the theme. I think the direction that Alumni Career Services is going more and more, thanks to part really with LinkedIn. I mean, that in itself I think has shaped the direction for which we as alumni associations and alumni networks leverage our graduates. They themselves in their professional areas are, utilizing that tool right away in their work, and we are finding that it's very valuable both for connecting these alumni back into the institution and getting our students more connected with them in their careers, and just getting our alumni to leverage one another's resources to their advantage in their professions.
Awesome. Kim, now that we've got kind of a little backdrop on how at George Washington you've got the Alumni Career Services group inside the Alumni Association. At Syracuse you have someone deployed for Alumni Career Services within the Career Services office. Could you talk a little bit through how things from your vantage point have changed over the last couple of years since you started doing the work? As we are here today on our little hangout, where is Alumni Career Services? Where have we come from?
I think it's exploded. I mean, I think the growth has been 1,000%, if not more. This position didn't exist 10 years ago at all, and now it's grown into, what was a coordinator is now an assistant director, and it's not just here, me in my position, but it's happening at universities across the country, and we see that. Michael and I, as he mentioned, sit on the Alumni Career Services Network board. We just had a conference down in Florida for people who do exactly what we do, Alumni Career Services, and that conference has exploded. Every year we have more and more people signing up. So we see that, and in terms of how it's changed, I think, traditionally maybe a few years ago we were only doing, sure, we'll take a look at your resume, sure, we'll look at your cover letter. We were doing that real career, consultant, counseling type work. But now, Michael touched on it perfectly, with tools like LinkedIn, with Hootsuite, where I can monitor every single mention of Syracuse U. These new types of tools, even Google+, my colleague Sam in Alumni Relations, he's really spearheaded efforts to do Google+ Hangouts with our alumni, and even thinking about doing professional development opportunities via Google+ instead of in person. We didn't have those tools 2 years ago. I mean, Google+ is really brand spanking new on the market. So I think that's how it's changed. I think our roles have shifted from your traditional career services to these types of connections and being able to be the liaison between alumni and students, and employers, whoever the constituents might be. It's just exploded. It's awesome. It's cool to see.
Kim, yeah, I think it's been one of the most intriguing parts of working in alumni engagement to sort of see how individual institutions are handling the whole explosion of alumni career services. I think it's a great service that we can offer alumni, and really create an impact and kind of develop those personal and professional success stories about how to look for a job when alumni have helped out students. Yeah. Michael, what's the difference, would you say, between the services that we should be offering students versus the ones that we should be offering alumni? Is there a difference?
Well, I do think there's differences in the approach that we have to be conscious of our audience, whether the age, the experience. I mean, we have many students here at GW that come with 10 years of military experience into an undergraduate degree program, and we're proud to have them on our campus. And I think their experience is probably more in line with somebody that has 5 or 6, 7 years of work experience, because they technically are working in incredible, intense environments. So I think how we approach students and alumni, there are some common themes that we are addressing. Obviously, networking, assessing their own interest in career development direction. But I do think how we, at GW in particular, we realize the difference in the students' needs and want to understand where they're coming at things. And then we realize with alumni, networking is really business development, and they're at a point where they're not as much always looking for next jobs, but literally building their career success. So what we try to do is look at it as business-to-business type resources and helping them become better professionals, because ultimately, if they really develop their networking skills and have resources to be able to leverage their GW affinity with one another and become industry experts among their peers in the GW community, then they'll be able to take on that next opportunity, whether it's a new career position or a next business partnership. And that's how we are working with our colleagues in our different career centers to really help leverage their resources when it comes to resume help and interview skills and job search techniques and understanding assessment and theory behind their career needs. But really, a lot of what we do is the networking, and then with students, we want to teach them how to use networking, but there's a little more foundation work that we have to establish before we just get them out there networking. I think that's really important for the success of both the reward for the alumni helping them and the students' success in their internships and career success down the road.
Yeah, and I think sort of establishing the idea that Alumni Career Services is all about helping generate connections and helping alumni build networks over time, so that not just when they're looking for a job, as you noted, but when there are opportunities that could be presented, they are presented, and it's happening through the alumni network itself. Kim, we use the word career services to talk about the work, and we've already touched on this sort of notion already, but it's really connection services, isn't it? I mean, is the word career slightly misleading anymore? Do people have careers, or just some of them? What's your thought on that?
I mean, I think they do have careers. I think we all, will switch careers. I think there's some stat out there that says people will or could have 7 different careers in a lifetime, which is like mind-boggling that can happen. But I think that what we do is make those connections easier for our alumni. So we, if I get an email from someone who's looking for a connection in Las Vegas, and I know 6 alumni who live in Las Vegas, then I can be the one to make that introduction, to make that connection. Whereas instead, it's like we kind of eliminate the cold calling. So instead of our alumni having to reach out cold, we can be the person who facilitates that connection. And sure, there is cold calling of sorts if they're, reaching out through a LinkedIn group, or, if they're just tweeting at an alum to try and make a connection. That's cold calling of sorts, but really it's kind of a little warm because we all have this Syracuse University connection as well. So that's my crazy way of describing what we do. I think everybody has work that we do, work that we're passionate about, and then we as a university can be the ones to help our alumni find their passion.
I think that's a really great metaphor, the idea of without alumni career services, alumni trying to be introduced or reach out to another member of the community would be doing it cold. And I think that's a really great way to look at what you what you guys do for your institutions. Sort of in the same general vein, Michael, can you talk about the Career Council? And this, I understand it in our show prep, is a group of folks within the schools and units at George Washington that work together in order to sort of facilitate, I guess, what Kim describes as the cold calling situation, try to facilitate more connections through the various schools, and I guess that reaches out through the various industries associated with them.
Absolutely. I mean, we at George Washington, we basically went through a task force on career services that the president initiated several years ago, and then one of the outcomes of that was to build a council. We called it the Career Services Advisory Council, and now it's really the Career Services Council because it's become more than just an advisory role. It really has become an integrated, a really crucial role to the success of our career services enhancement that we have outlined and envisioned in the near future years. Basically, it's a council of colleagues from all different career centers. All the schools career centers are represented, as well as the Alumni Relations Office. I serve in that capacity. And then we have student leaders as well as faculty members included on this council. And the idea behind it is really to come together each month and to focus on areas such as employer relations, metrics and learning outcomes, messaging and branding, student professional development, career services training for our colleagues in all of the offices, and how are we also enhancing the development efforts, the philanthropic opportunities that we can be leveraging of both our individual donors and possibly corporate relations, and be more effective and strategic, and really just leveraging our resources more efficiently across the university. What we have found is when we went to stakeholders, both the students, the parents, the alumni, the faculty, the employers, they all wanted sort of a little bit more of a GW, one GW, but we also realized the importance that each school needed to have their own career center still, especially the graduate professional areas such as law, international affairs, and business, and so forth. And so we really wanted to make sure we did a hybrid of that. And so this council has been coming together for, I think, 2 years now almost, and we're really excited. We've done amazing things together, helped raise funds for internship programs for undergrad and graduate students, and enhance the employer relations efforts, bringing together some of our relationships across the different schools and coming up with more strategic industry areas that we can enhance our employer recruitment efforts. So I think it's one of those programs that's relatively young still, and as we grow throughout the career services here on campus, we'll be able to benchmark that. And I welcome any other colleagues out there that have a similar council to be in touch, and we'll share ideas.
Great, thanks, Michael. And sort of working through our show topics here. The next one is kind of getting into the framework of facilitating connections for our alumni, helping to be that connector so that our alums don't have to cold call to get introduced. Kim, can you, and then Michael, could you talk through a little bit about what your best advice is for an alum who's looking to build his or her network?
Join LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Number one. You don't have a LinkedIn profile, that's not going to work out very well for you. So as you can see, Michael is also, I'm kind of jealous of that sign. We need to make those for Syracuse as well. But really, it's putting yourself out there in the forms that you feel comfortable with. So oftentimes I hear from alumni, well, do I need to be on Twitter? Like, do I need to be doing that? Should I be on Facebook? Should I be doing Pinterest? Well, what about Google+? And it's like they get all, should I be doing all these things? Well, no, you should be doing, what you feel most comfortable with. And maybe you just start with LinkedIn when it comes to professional networking and putting yourself out there. That's obviously the top dog in my mind, and I think many people would agree with that. So in terms of the advice, that would be it. And then also, letting people know what you're looking for, letting your connections, whether it be friends of yours from the university, I don't think some of our alumni even know that we do alumni career services. I don't think, that it's even out there. So by kind of talking to your friends, letting them know your situation. A lot of times I hear from alumni who say, I didn't even know that this was going on. So I think that that's, something to focus on. And then I can talk later on about like specific tools like our Working Orange, like our groups, but that, very basically is the answer.
Awesome. Michael, what do you think? Best advice for an alumnus looking to make contacts and develop a network?
Well, I second everything that Kim said, obviously, and with LinkedIn, and I think beginning now is key. Not waiting either if you're a student or an alumni of any age. I think beginning now, it's never too late, but it's important to really not wait till you need your network. And when I mean need, you always need your network, and you always want to be leveraging your network. But there's the emergency needs that people often wait to go into a crisis moment where they have to find as many contacts in this company or that place or that industry. And I think what we want to get our graduates here at GW, as well as our students, understanding is that relationships are a long-term commitment that you have to maintain and cultivate. And you have to be kind of a give and get. You have to share stories, ideas. You want to make introductions that your network can benefit from, through your network, and really follow up and thank them. And it's that common touching base that you would do with if you just accomplish something with your personal friends network. But think about your accomplishments professionally, and that you want to let your network know about. The other thing I really recommend is not focusing on a number associated with your number of contacts, but really looking at your quality and diversification of your contact pool, the different circles that they make up. So if you are looking for people in a particular company or industry, don't just focus on that company or industry. Realize that all of us know people that know others. And if you isolate yourself into one circle, you're oftentimes finding that your network's limited to what they can do reach-wise. But if you look to your friends that you don't think of them as your go-to connection to an industry, but they are able to help introduce you to someone very important in that's something that they can do much easier than somebody else in that field, possibly. So never lose the idea of having a diverse but quality network that you can ongoing manage. And I think, to Kim's point, LinkedIn, they really designed it, for us to be able to do such cultivation of our network. Leverage that new contacts tool that they developed. Encourage your alumni to understand how to use that effectively, and I think you'll be in some good company with your alumni. And really, I would bring them back into realizing what you as an alumni relations professional can do, or an advancement professional can do in helping make those connections, so that the same things we're teaching our alumni, we're putting into practice as university administrators too.
Yeah, and I think that one of the best pieces of advice, and you guys kind of correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like one of the best pieces of advice you could have for an alum or anyone seeking advice about career services is to get out there and build your network. So not just join LinkedIn and participate in that space, but get out there and meet people face to face. Michael, how do you work with the folks in your regional programming team in the Alumni Association, trying to facilitate connections for people at those events? Are there regional career-oriented events or programming? And then I'm going to, Kim, chime in on the same topic there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a great team of colleagues here in the Alumni House that focus on regional programming throughout the country and internationally. We have a whole international team that has been growing. And, one of the great things about, tools like LinkedIn is their ability to reach so many people beyond where you live. However, I'm one to first admit that I think the in-person is necessary to a successful professional contact, in the in-person interaction, I mean. And I think, regional events offer that as a wonderful supplement to what we're talking about with LinkedIn, and how you have to partner with your colleagues. And here at GW, we've done really a great job, in my mind, of figuring out the right balance of the social regional events that you traditionally see in alumni relations, the happy hours, the baseball games, the sports events, and the more camaraderie type driven events. However, my colleagues truly realize, and their volunteers in their regions realize the importance of the career type programming as well. So we've been able to do some in-person networking events, industry-led panels or speakers, as well as industry networking around those speakers, as well as workshops on career services expertise for alumni in some of our major markets where we know we'll have enough alumni need. And then we've done the My Workster alumni-only career fairs, where we've partnered with other universities around the country in some of our major cities that we have alumni living. And I'm also open to new ideas. One of the things that we've been exploring that I'll probably touch on a little later with digital area is the virtual networking and taking our LinkedIn success and building out networking hours related to that community. Well, what I want to do next is a model that Penn State has already adapted in their virtual networking hours, and that is basically regional networking hours. So we've been doing them on industries, but now I want to look at our top 5 or 6 regions, or cities, I should say, around the country or globe, and do a virtual networking for that as well. I mean, I am first to admit that I had virtual networking hour sessions with people in San Francisco and New York, and was able to actually meet them in person at some of the networking events that we did in those regions. So it's a neat thing to have the balance of in-person and online.
Yeah, totally agree. What do you think, Kim? The balance of in-person and online, now in person here, talking about Syracuse-oriented career networking opportunities, and your colleagues, Dan Clam, I think, is one of the experts on young professional networking.
Yeah, he definitely is. I don't think anything can replace in-person events, but there's no way that we can be in however many different cities where we have alumni. I mean, you feel awful. We do 9 huge Success in the City networking events in 9 of our biggest regions in the country: LA, San Francisco, Chicago, Boston, those big cities. Then we hear from alumni in Detroit who are like, well, what about us? Or alumni in Denver, well, what about us? So, we would love to get to each and every one of those cities, and maybe someday we will. But in the meantime, if we can experience what doing, explore these Google Plus Hangouts for those alumni. If Dan and I can hop up every Friday afternoon and we're not doing this yet, but lunch hours with Kim and Dan, where we do some alumni career service, some sort of, professional networking topic or career development topic, that's how we can reach those alumni who we might always not be able to get to their specific city. So very similar to Michael, we have very developed regions in New York City, in DC, and in Los Angeles, and then we're really growing in the Boston area, in the Chicago area, Atlanta, and doing a mix of the fun programs, the game watches, the things that are the fun social type events, and these networking, career development, professional development type events. And when we do surveys, a lot of the alumni are asking for things like money management, how do I get promoted, how do I buy my first home, and not so much of the let's get together and drink beer. I mean, they don't mind if there's beer available at those how to buy my first home events, but they like the content of those types of events. So, and those are in person, making those connections, the face-to-face, and you think too about the skill set that's involved with face-to-face interaction and how that can then translate to your career. It's one thing to be awesome on Twitter and to be great on LinkedIn and to write super emails, but if you are hella awkward in person, you're not going to be very successful in your career. So if we can teach that in-person networking and making those connections face-to-face and the importance of eye contact, I think that's crucial and beneficial to our alumni as well.
Yeah, no, I
think awkward. Sorry.
Hella awkward. Go ahead, Michael.
One thing, Ryan, I was going to add, and I forgot to mention this, but one thought. In addition to the regional programming, one of the things that we've been looking at is a model that's similar to regional but approaching in the workplace. And so if you think about your top regions that you as an alumni community have, where are the top companies that you have a presence as well? And what you'll find in most urban type metropolitan universities, they're probably in your nearby vicinity, and they're probably in some of the employers that you realize are ready. But if you use LinkedIn's alumni tool, you can get that information within minutes, and you can basically realize that you have volunteer leaders in those workplaces that you can leverage to help get more of a community within that workplace to be behind your university. So we call it colonial colleagues here, and we've been able to have wonderful volunteer alumni leaders in companies like Deloitte and Booz Allen are big name consultants here in the DC area and around the world, and we have a lot of alumni working at those institutions, but also federal government agencies like the Department of State. We have a great relationship with them, given that they're just a block across the campus, but I think World Bank and others are great examples. But you can be creative, like Living Social. We had a lot of alumni working there, and we've done stuff with them. So I think it's really finding, when you think of the regional concept, put that into another idea is to think about your workplaces as well.
I think there's a great opportunity out there when it comes to focusing in on workplaces where you have, we'll call them embedded volunteers that could be excellent advocates not only for the brand of your university but a particular career path in a particular company. And I think to myself, what would be a great way for the University of Richmond to approach me? And that would be, well, hey, do you want to be a part of or be a volunteer leader in a digital networking group that surrounds all the folks that graduated from the University of Richmond who do higher ed administration or who do marketing and communication, whether that's a local program here in Charlottesville or whether that's more broadly. But sort of continuing down the realm of the digital. Digital networking, Kim, is obviously a huge part of everything that we do. If someone was looking to start a program, I know obviously LinkedIn will be part of this answer, but what would you prescribe to a university that's just looking to get an alumni digital network up off the ground, and how to foster the growth of that network?
Oh, Nelly, that's a big question. My colleague Dan is tweeting at me, which is making me laugh at questions that are not funny. So, Michael, I'm really sorry for starting to laugh, but he's tweeting some of the things I say, and when I read them, I'm like, oh, God, I said that. Yikes. Oh, man. So digitally just focused on alumni career services, because obviously you talk alumni digital engagement, and that's ginormous, and we'd be here until 5:30 this evening talking about that. But specifically in using it for alumni career services, one thing I do, immediate takeaways, is I have a column on Hootsuite that monitors every mention of Syracuse U. So if you can consider using a Hootsuite dashboard and either following the handle of your university, if you have a specific hashtag, we've created the hashtag #HireOrange, so anytime an alum has an opportunity where they want to hire a fellow Syracuse University grad or a student for an internship or a job opportunity, they can tweet that using the hashtag #HireOrange, and I have a column on Hootsuite that monitors that as well. Knowing what your community is saying is crucial to developing an alumni digital strategy for, in general, alumni digital strategy, but specifically for career services as well. So what's your community saying? Is there a huge job promotion that's just been announced on Twitter? How do you then follow up with that person, perhaps on LinkedIn, by email, connect with them? Maybe you notice that a new alum has just been hired at a company that you're trying to get in with so that they can come to campus to recruit your students, and you might notice that on social media and then follow up from there. So I think that's important. We find that our LinkedIn group is huge. We've got Q's Connect, which is our group for connecting alumni with students and alumni with each other. So I would say focusing on having a vibrant LinkedIn group. And then something we're doing new that I don't think too many colleges have picked up on just yet, but it has been extraordinarily successful for us, is our Working Orange Twitter handle. That is a Twitter handle devoted specifically, and I think Kristen from CASE is watching. Kristen wrote an article on this, which we really appreciated. But that is focused specifically on, oh, there it is, there's a little screenshot, on an alum taking control of that Twitter handle. So last week we had an alumna who, she works on apps for Fraggle Rock. That is so cool, and she had so many people talking with her and asking what her job was like, and she's able to share advice, she's able to give them her career story. And basically all I have to do is give them the username to the account, a password for that specific day, I try and change it for every alum, and then just some guidelines, and there you have it. And then after they're done, I ideally storify those so they all live in one place. A student can go back, an alum can go back. And maybe that's if you're just starting out, maybe a little much, but something to think about down the line, because the time, I mean, other than scheduling the alumni to do the tweeting, it's just taken on a life of its own, and it's been really fun to watch, and students and alumni love it, so that's good.
I can understand why you might want to hand off the responsibilities to get some folks signed up to do the live tweeting.
Yeah.
And we lost Michael. How about that?
Oh, no.
I guess that's not a surprise given the technology problem. Oh, we'll see if he's back for good. Sort of talking through, Kim, obviously, if all goes well, right, you have two people who have made a connection. They're establishing a relationship, a professional relationship, most likely, perhaps an older alum and a younger alum. Do you guys have some sort of formal mentor-mentee program, or do you guys sort of keep that angle freewheeling?
We keep it freewheeling. We really had one. I mean, we had one. We had something called Mentor at SU, and that was your formal, students would go in, they would look through a list of mentors, they would email me and say, I want to talk to these 3 people. I would email the mentors and say, hey, the student wants to talk to you. Can you talk to them? Then the mentor would email back, and then I'd have to email the student. And if you're exhausted, I don't blame you, because that was a long process. And that was before LinkedIn was really, you know, the tool that it is today. A lot of universities, they'll reach out and ask about Q's Connect and say, well, how do you track metrics? How do you know that they're making connections? I know because I see that discussion board on Q's Connect. I can watch the discussions that are going on. I don't need to know that somebody connected with somebody else. I don't need to see that messaging back and forth. But if I can know discussions, if I can get success stories now and then from doing a survey, I'm also sure that I would hear from people if they couldn't find somebody or if it wasn't working. Or I might hear from an alum if a student reached out to them in the wrong way or a fellow alum reached out to them in the wrong way. We're about giving them the tools to make the connections and then letting them have at it. And I don't think it's necessary to track every little connection that's made. Sure, we want to hear the success stories, but I don't think we need to know every time somebody is matched up, partnered up. I actually despise the word mentor. I hate it. Can you tell? Mentor and mentee. I think that tells people, it makes them nervous, like, oh my gosh, like I'm mentoring somebody, or I'm a mentee. What does it mean now? No, we build connections, we build relationships, and if that develops into mentor, mentee, whatever you want to call it, great. But really, we're just offering advice. We're just having conversations. Don't worry about that whole, you know, formality of being a mentor and a mentee. That is how I feel about that.
That is how you feel about that. No, I totally understand, and I think that you know, those things happen naturally, right? I think the stories are all going on out there, and one of the things we've tried to do here, both when I was at Washington and Lee and here while I'm at the University of Virginia now, is to sort of help foster what you might call informational interview stories, which are really just advice-based editorials about the work world or graduate school or work life. And I was going to share one of those here on the screen share. As you can see, you've got an alum here, class of 2010, who, you know, talks about the importance of networking. And in this way, you're sort of sharing content that's the type of stuff that a mentor-mentee relationship would have in those various conversations. You know, how to get a better job in PR, or how to network more effectively. So I'm not sure that you actually have to tell the networking stories themselves or even connect individual people together. But I think it's awesome to sort of replicate the act of networking on the web as far as it goes, and drive people into the other content that's on the alumni careers or alumni networking platform.
Yeah, I think the more that you can get your community to educate your community, the better. So I keep going back to Dan in New York. He has panels of alumni who do a certain job, or he just brought a whole group of alumni to Google so that we could hear what it's like to work at Google. So instead of Dan sitting down with somebody and learning what it's like to work at Google and then him doing the presentation, he has the people who are there who are the experts give the presentation. In this case, it was even a Google Plus Hangout on air, so it went out to all alumni who wanted to watch. And I think the more that we can link to a blog post that comes from Syracuse University as opposed to a career blogger, the better, because our alumni realize that it's our community. And like Michael said, finding the experts within your community and having each other build up our careers, I don't think you can go wrong with that.
Yeah, agreed. And a quick plug. Actually, we have Dan Clam and John Hill from LinkedIn scheduled to appear together on a show, Advancement Live Edition, later on in October. So that's kind of big news that we're gonna share out there with the higher ed world. So that should be one for your calendars, and we'll be sure to promote it a little bit later on.
That's awesome.
Pretty cool, huh? But we're still having trouble getting Michael on here, so we'll sort of move forward a little bit. Kim, the LinkedIn training program, I guess it's kind of tough to have a quote-unquote LinkedIn training program given the fact that the platform is always changing. But
right.
I think that you have talked in the past about how you guys have some sort of a platform or teaching tools, at least to make sure that people have sort of a baseline before they get access to your Q's Connect group.
Yep.
What other sorts of training do you have for your LinkedIn?
Well, yeah, we did have a video for Q's Connect where as soon as a student requested to join, alumni were admitted automatically. As soon as the student requested to join, they got an email back with a link, and they had to watch a 10-minute video about LinkedIn and how to properly use Q's Connect, and then answer 5 questions about the group. And then once we knew that they had watched that video and answered those questions correctly, then we were able to admit them in. The thing is, it's awesome. LinkedIn keeps changing. I mean, it just makes changes all the time, and I'd be making a new video, it feels like every week. So I think what we're going to do now is instead of having that video tutorial, ideally to create a one sheet or maybe a front and back with some screenshots that are easily editable if LinkedIn does make some changes again. And that could be posted as a manager's choice in Q's Connect, linking to that on our website, wherever it might be. But just giving them, what I found about LinkedIn is it's not very in your face that all of this stuff is available. So what does it mean to click on a certain tab? What can I find under that tab? What are interests and influencers? And what's my alumni tool? You know, a lot of our alumni, it's not like, oh, okay, my alumni tool, I'll click on that. It's not there and in their faces. So I think it's important for us, if we're going to offer these tools and offer these ways to make connections, to then teach the responsible ways to use them. A lot of times I hear from LinkedIn, or from people about LinkedIn, whatever, that's just another social network, or I don't do that social media stuff. Well, if they took the time to realize what LinkedIn can do, or to read that one sheet, or watch a video, if we maybe do one of those in the future, I think they'd realize, they'd drink the Kool-Aid that all of us have had, and that I mean very positively as to how powerful a tool that is. And then I also meet one-on-one with students and alumni and do specific profile reviews. And at some of our events across the country, I sat with a laptop and did reviews of their LinkedIn profiles. And we're also talking too about doing, I believe other schools do this, having a day where we take LinkedIn headshots for our students and kind of make it a real LinkedIn themed day. And that's something we're considering doing in the fall semester.
No, I think that's a good idea. So I'm just giggling because obviously everyone's probably seeing Michael's avatar popping up and down. If you could see actually the back end of the group chat, you would see on the right-hand side of the page, you've got about 75 different listings of Michael joining the group, Michael leaving the group. We did test that, folks, a couple of times, and as you obviously noticed, Michael was able to access the group, but it is kind of funny to watch him popping up and in and then fading out, but or maybe not so funny. But anyway, do you guys offer any other sort of best practices when it comes to social media? Do you advise folks on how to use? Oh, there he is.
I'm back.
Yay! Michael, you can answer a question. I've been talking for hours.
Sorry. I really apologize. I'm going to look into this because I'm not sure what's going on. I've already called IT and stuff. So hopefully we'll have you you have me for a few more minutes here before we conclude, but I
Yeah.
apologize. So what was the question?
Well, okay, so good timing. Can you dial in and tell everybody sort of what are the LinkedIn best practices that you advise for alumni in terms of using the platform in its most effective ways?
Absolutely. Well, first off, I think understanding kind of going left to right on the top with your profile, understanding how to really update your profile. Don't just put a few things, really add a summary, understanding each tool. Figure out what is right for you as well. I mean, I think everyone has their own comfort zone as far as what information they want to put out there, even in the LinkedIn sphere. So I do highly recommend a professional headshot that is appropriate for the photo. It just adds a lot more to your presence when you're posting something, and they designed LinkedIn for that picture to be there. So make sure you get a professional headshot, and then I would make sure you understand how to use the groups feature, both related to your university, and I would, as alumni career professionals, I would emphasize on teaching your alumni how to use the network of alumni within that group feature, as well as the alumni tool that they developed. And last week, LinkedIn, I mean, I'm sure maybe Kim mentioned this a little bit, but LinkedIn announced, launched some really exciting new features related to universities that both alumni professionals ourselves and our alumni can benefit from, but also our colleagues in development and our colleagues in the university career services area, as well as colleagues all around. Faculty should be using these tools. They were designed a lot to enhance the reach of LinkedIn for high school audiences, for prospective students potentially, as well as parents, and to really help the brand and image of the universities that we serve, but also to bring about dialogue about the experiences of education and the importance of education in our society and what we believe in, and in the professional scene, how education is instrumental in the success of organizations and workplaces. So I think there's a lot of stuff in that one statement, but I think if you go back a step to your question, Ryan, and look at the company pages, influencers, really giving alumni the full gamut of it, and to break that perspective that I feel like when I was first talking about LinkedIn 5 years ago, a lot of alumni were seeing it as a job search tool only, or they were asked to connect with somebody and then they connected with them and they never used it. And I would tell them today that they should be using it as professionals in their daily routine to enhance their success in their field, as long as it's okay. I mean, there's definitely some financial organizations that restrict certain access of LinkedIn on a regular basis throughout the workday for SEC issues and other things. But I do think that, for the most part, many industries encourage usage of LinkedIn. Many CEOs of major corporations are going to their staff and saying, create LinkedIn profiles, help the reputation of our organization out there, and bring in business through LinkedIn. And I think the other thing is the global impact. Going to Kim's point about all these great tools, LinkedIn offers that ability to find alumni in regions that may not have those traditional regional programs because of the numbers that we have there. So certainly the international and domestic reach of LinkedIn is impressive. And I would just encourage, the idea of further connecting your community on LinkedIn and helping be that facilitator. And that's really what I see our role as alumni career professionals being. We're not the experts on every industry out there, but if alumni realize there are professionals like themselves that are out there that happen to study at George Washington University, to realize that they can reach out to them using the group's affinity is a really important tool to teach them. So lots of stuff. I mean, there's definitely a great university page that LinkedIn launched with the help of Lindsay Pollock, their global spokesperson with LinkedIn, who does amazing webinars each month almost for LinkedIn. So you can go to university.linkedin.com, I believe, and you can download a lot of the videos and PDFs that they designed to help professionals either in a career services shop or an alumni relations shop to better utilize LinkedIn.
And I think, sort of our final thoughts in sort of 30-second responses, guys, before we bump up against the hour. Can you talk a little bit about, obviously all this is about making sure that your alumni get hired, right? I mean, I think that that's the goal, right? We want people to get great jobs, have great stories, and to go out there and hire more folks, continue the chain and keep the wheel turning. So could you sort of encapsulate an initiative at your institution that's all about making sure, and Kim, I know you already sort of mentioned Working Orange, but could you talk a little more about hiring Orange, and then we'll turn it back over to Michael for the Hire GW.
Yep, so this was just an idea from one of my colleagues, Tracy, who we were getting all these job opportunities from alumni, and we sat down one day and we were like, why don't we just say Hire Orange? And so that became the hashtag, and so as alumni share those opportunities, we tweet them. I can either, if they email them to me, I can tweet a link or whatever it might be for them, or they can tweet them themselves and use the Hire Orange hashtag. And then I also try to, when I get the jobs emailed to me, I also post them on the jobs tab of Q's Connect. So that's kind of a place as well where our alumni know and our students know that they can look for jobs that stay within the Orange family, and that they know they have this immediate connection in. And as we all know, it's so much about who you know within companies and not so much what you know, at least that gets your foot in the door. And so if we can be offering those Orange connections to get those feet in the door, I think we're really doing a good job with that. So that's very simply job opportunities that come from alumni, for alumni or students. That's Hire Orange, and we put it on Q's Connect as well. And in Orange Link, which is our closed simplicity system. I should plug them as well. That's not social media, that's an old system, but a great system, and we also post them there too.
Awesome. Michael, how do you guys hire GW folks?
Well, very similar. I mean, and this is something that I give credit to a lot of great colleagues like Kim and others out there that have developed great hire, whatever your university mascot or name is. Obviously Hire GW. I mean, I know Hire Kane is the University of Miami, and other great institutions out there that use this tactic, and it's really just, a great way to build camaraderie amongst your alumni in their workplaces and in their professional areas, to say, look, you know of jobs out there, you know of positions that you're either about to hire for, or you know people that are making that hiring decision. Make sure you're doing your part to represent your alma mater in a very positive way in the workforce, and to say that the talent that you know exists out there is one that you would recommend in the workplace in that position. You can't guarantee a great match, but you can certainly encourage that they consider the great talent of your institution. And so at GW, we do Hire GW, Colonials hiring Colonials, Colonials helping Colonials. And really we direct them obviously to LinkedIn, but certainly also utilizing our simplicity platform, GWork we call it, where students and alumni have access to a full list of job postings by employers that are either alumni or not alumni. And the other thing with Twitter is to use hashtag HireGW as often we can, and other Twitter tactics to leverage that. The other thing to think about with Hire GW is that we really try to connect that back into the mindset of that Colonial Colleagues program I talked about earlier, and saying, look, you have the ability to leverage that diploma on your wall in your workplace, and you have the responsibility to be a leader among your alumni in your workplace and as a proud Colonial. So really encouraging our networks out there to reconnect back with the institution and find value. And to go to your point, Ryan, it is a lot definitely about getting great job opportunities for our alumni, but really one step beyond it is that they find happiness and passion and make what they came to GW for and to study and to perfect, and where they go to other institutions either before or after GW, and why they believe so importantly in improving society for the better and doing great things. And I think that comes into what we are trying to do, is find those connections, find those areas where they can really carry their passion and make something happen around the world.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael. So sort of a final thought. I always try to think of something to wrap up the show, and I wanted to show one of the initiatives that we've launched very recently here at the University of Virginia. One potential opportunity in all this is that so much of what we try to do is teach people, alumni and students, what is out there on the web to be found about them. So when someone Googles their name, what comes up, right? So if someone Googles your name, you might find a LinkedIn profile, and the advice that we offer is all about making sure that when people are looking at your digital presence on the web, what's there and what makes it effective when people are reaching out to you. So I think that there's an opportunity underneath the idea of Alumni Career Services to teach people how to develop their own digital brand more extensively, and to sort of teach what it means to be a digital thought leader, and to not only teach it, but to provide the platform for people to do it. So one of the things that we've launched here recently at the University of Virginia is, and let me show this. I'll show the website first. Is the idea of providing the platform for people to submit content that would be position them as a thought leader in whatever it is that they're whatever they want to be, whether that's a passion or a profession of some sort. And you can navigate to the various club pages here on the site and see people, individual contributors that are actually using this platform to develop their own digital brand.
That's great.
For example, Alex Katzen here submitted a piece about how to master your online presence, and that's very much what we're talking about. But her piece is then tagged, and it appears here on the club page of Charlottesville, in addition to calling out her as a featured author on the site, along with her social media outlets. There's this opportunity for her to use this platform to add more content here. So if she wants to position herself as a public relations expert or in search engine optimization, she can do that here on the web underneath the flag of the university. So not only are we providing this platform for folks to find each other, it's sort of a visual interpretation of a digital network, but for alum to actually submit content to the site to be known as a thought leader in whatever it is they want, or maybe it's a hobby, or maybe it's for their travel experiences. But you would do all that through this submission tab here on the site, where we actually allow people the opportunity to submit content and build a digital profile of some sort. So I wanted to show that to everybody. I know that that may or may not fit in cleanly to the human resources available time that you have,
Right.
or the website capabilities that you have. But I think that that's why we're all here on this show today, or the three of us, because we are intentionally trying to be thought leaders in our industry. And I think that if we can teach our alumni that that's how they're going to get better jobs, that's how they're going to be discovered by positioning themselves as thought leaders while doing so underneath the flag of the university, we'll really have something for our alumni to utilize.
That's awesome.
So thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. Kim, thank you guys for joining us. Folks out there, thanks for sticking with us. That was, hope we kept it nice and light for you, even though we were having some technical difficulties. I know all three of us were a little sweaty and nervous at a particular times over the course of the show, but thanks everybody for sticking around. My colleague Andrew Gosen will be back next week, 1 p.m. on September the 3rd. And the following week, I'll be back with Tom Dominic from Duke University, and we'll talk through their Duke Forward website, which is really cool if you haven't seen that yet. So anyway, Ryan Catherwood here at the University of Virginia saying goodbye to Kim and Michael. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. See you soon.
Take care.
See you soon. And we're going to sign off. Thanks, everybody.